How to close and deal with difficult sellers in your negotiations. What is up, guys? Zach in here.
Rick in here.
And in today's video, we're really going to deal with exactly everything you need to know on how to close very difficult sellers so you can make $30, $40, even $50,000 on a real estate wholesaling deal. Let me tell you a quick secret why we're dedicating an entire video on this channel for this is because the difficult sellers actually lead to some of the biggest profits in wholesaling real estate, right? And I can tell you is if you know how to overcome these difficult sellers, I would say maybe 1 out of 10 of your sellers are going to be this type of difficult person. But if you know exactly how to handle them the right way and actually how to close them, guys, you're going to be getting these big, huge $30, $40, $50,000 deals. The thing is you have to know what to say, know what to understand, and most importantly, know what to do. So we're going to break it down today. But before we do it, do us a big favor. Make sure you smash the like button, subscribe, and let's break it down. So everybody asks, what's our secret to doing these big $30, $40, $50,000 deals? And one of the biggest secrets we've always had is number one, listening to sellers, right? Like listening, caring about them. And that's always one huge factor for our success. But when it comes to difficult sellers, I could tell you guys is we persevere, right? We beat them with persistence, right? And most wholesalers aren't willing to do the extra work it takes to actually get these deals locked up. So this is why we're breaking it down today. And that's our biggest secret doing these big deals with very difficult, motivated sellers. It's because we actually go with persistence. We actually go and do the hard work, which is negotiating with these tough sellers and getting through these difficult negotiations. This will bring us through the finish line for us to do really big wholesaling real estate deals. Guys, it is not uncommon for us in wholesaling real estate with the difficult seller to be talking to them, negotiating, going the appointment, building rapport for an hour or even 2 hours long. Sometimes that's what it takes to build that rapport and that trust to get that deal done.
So when it comes to difficult sellers, your patience is going to be tested. If you can be truly patient and let them kind of work through their own mess, like that's the best way to get a deal. So the first thing I want to do is make sure I'm going to identify the motivation. And with difficult sellers, like sometimes this is a painful, drawn out part. Remember, if you can find the motivation, you can continue with the conversation. So sometimes this can take a lot longer than what you and me would expect. Remember, difficult deals yield huge profits. If you can be patient and work through the weeds on sellers like this, you can do very well on these types of deals.
So the next part here is do not negotiate with unmotivated sellers. So I think a lot of people get this really confused. They think unmotivated sellers is a difficult seller and that's how you're supposed to do. That's not what a difficult seller is, okay? An unmotivated seller is not somebody that we want to deal with.
Yeah, if the motivation's not there, they're all going to be difficult. So don't mix up an unmotivated seller with a motivated seller. You're looking for a motivated seller, hopefully a highly motivated seller. They're just difficult. If you have that, you can move forward. You just have to have patience moving forward.
So the question is, what makes a difficult seller and why are they difficult, right? They're not difficult because you're not going to get a deal, or they're not difficult because it's impossible to get the deal. They're difficult because they don't understand some of the concepts you're doing, or maybe even possibly they don't have one of these three things. So most motivated sellers are difficult because of 4 distinct reasons.
The first one is price. Price itself is not a motivating factor. You have to have true motivation. Price winds up like being an outcome. Some sellers just get stuck on price, even motivated sellers. It's just because they don't understand. And a lot of times they're just scared. So I don't even care if a motivated seller spits out the first price. Don't let that intimidate you, and definitely don't let it prevent you from making an offer. You just got to work through the rationale of how they came up with that number. And this, a lot of times where you got to spend a ton of time working with difficult sellers. But if you'll take the patience and get through it, understanding there's motivation, you can get them to reveal the correct price through the process. The next one is certainty. Our favorite way to deal with any type of motivated seller is they want certainty. So the ones that want and crave certainty, sometimes they'll do it all up front and it's easy. And we all get like this false sense of security. The reality is if you're talking to somebody and you're deep into the conversation, I can tell you this, they want certainty. They just don't know how to tell it to you. They don't want to give up a ton of price to get the certainty. So you have to work with it. So you have to take time. And how do you do that? You just go through your qualification process. You walk through the MCTP and you work through it. Once they get to know you, the better you build a rapport, the further they're going to pull their veil down and the more they can work with you, and let them know that by working with me, the the cash buyer, I can give you the certainty that I know you need at the end of the day. And number three, this is kind of like a no-brainer, but a lot of us overlook it. It's just trust. No matter what you say, if you don't pass the trust test, it's going to be a wasted conversation. So at some point, you're going to have to gain their trust. How do you earn their trust? Number one, you connect with them. Number two, you tell them the truth. And number three, the most important one is you try to help them out. So sometimes just by saying lines like, even if I'm not able to buy your house, Mr. Seller, I want to help you get it sold. I promise you I'll do that. And that is a trust thing. Like they go, this person's going to help me regardless of even the outcome. And by just doing that, you will gain their trust. So you just got to work through it. Remember, people aren't going to give you the trust in the first 10 seconds of the conversation. Sometimes I'm going to tell you, it can take an hour to get it. But if the motivation's there, it's worth the effort to track it down so you can yield the highest profit. And then number four is what we call a bad low ball. So if you shot them with a low ball and you went for a go for no and you didn't build any rapport and the trust was never established, that's where you offend them and you upset them. And that's either where you're going to get hung up and called a name, or worse, if you're in person, you're going to get kicked out. So these are four factors that all motivated sellers, and mostly difficult ones, they're going to fall in one of these fours. If you can tackle each and every one of those, you can progress forward and get a great wholesale deal.
Yeah, and that's sort of the point. So we talk about price here, usually why they're stuck on price is because they want too much for it and they're stuck. They have a quote unquote like firewall on them, right? Where they are stuck on this price and they don't get off of it. One way I've always found that worked really well is just going the realtor approach. Well, if you want this price, why don't you just go with the realtor? Because if you go with the realtor and let's say you sell it for $150,000 like that price you want, you're going to have to pay 6% for fees, title costs, haggling, negotiating. Why don't you just go deal with the realtor? It makes so much more sense. Then from there, they'll explain why they don't deal with the realtor and then why that you're dealing a cash offer, why that's completely different. Also, guys, remember, if they want retail, if they're a retail seller, they should not even be in the negotiations for a wholesaling deal. Number two, guys, remember certainty. They're not certain that you can buy the property, or you might even be not trusted with the certainty part. So just explain that you use a legitimate title company. You and your cash partner are ready and have the funds to buy the property as soon as possible. Maybe you didn't explain that in the beginning, or maybe they didn't hear you well, but say that again and they'll become less difficult if you explain this. Number three here, guys, this is confidence. Guys, if you have a lack of trust from your motivated seller, it's because your deliverability of your cash offer, the deliverability of what you're saying, what you think, what you believe, and how you're going to help the person out was not delivered the right way. Now with conviction and confidence, that's going to be very difficult to overcome because you're going to have that confidence. That's why confidence is an essential piece for you getting the deal done, guys. It's the difference between saying, I can buy your house versus I can buy your house. Same words, same thing said, except you're way better having a more confident approach. Also with the confidence, make sure you have all the decision makers there. Sometimes if they're not there, you don't have trust or someone doesn't like you. I've had that where I talked to the husband, got it locked up, and the wife felt like she wasn't included, and then she killed the deal. Do not want to have that situation. And number four, this is when you have a bad lowball, guys. If you lowball the wrong way, you are not going to get the deal done, guys. You're going to have to be very effective and very efficient when it comes to lowballing your seller. And there's really 3 or 4 ways to lowball the right way. And if you don't use these ways, your seller is not just going to like that. It's not going to do well. It's the difference between saying something like, can you do $140,000 for this house versus, hey, I'm at $140,000 on this house. When you have confidence and assertiveness when it comes to your lowball offer, they're going to be more likely to take that. Now, if you're saying, could you do that price? They're going to think, well, he's just trying to lowball me and, he can definitely go up from there. When you're certain with it, you're going to do well. This is why I always tell you guys, go to freewholesaling.com. Just check out the good cop, bad cop approach, the lowball with the reasoning, the dollar bill method, or the volume method. If you use any of those methods, which we teach absolutely for free at freewholesaling.com, you can easily overcome any of the difficult sellers you have.
So let's talk about the 3 primary ways a seller thinks when they sell their home. All your sellers are going to fall in one of these categories. So if you think in this terms, it's going to help you out in this process. So number 1, it's the emotional seller. And honestly, they're the easiest ones. They are the ones that make very fast decisions, and it's 100% based on emotions. If a seller gets worked up, if they cry, you guys know people like this. This happens all the time in real estate. It's to the point where they've just had it. They want certainty. The emotions taken over their decision, and the emotions going to make the decision. And honestly, that's the easiest wholesale deal. Those aren't the hard ones. That's the easiest. The next one is the logical decision. And this is we're all used to this. This is someone who weighs the pros and cons, and they logically, sometimes they mathematically have to walk through the numbers. They have to walk through the process. They're not solely gauging their emotions playing a part into it, but they're going to use logic, which basically means they're going to use their conscious mind to make a decision if they're going to sell you the property at a discount. Those you're going to have to work for. Those are the ones we spend a lot of time with in this phase. The final one is the one who just results to fear. Bypassed emotional, the logic's not working, just fear. I've got to move forward. And how do they move forward? By selling the property. Now, the fear ones can be difficult because it's like a lot of times it's extreme on one side or the other. With these people, it is the primal emotion that's going to make them sell the property. They've bypassed the other two. A lot of times you got to spend a lot of time walking them through their fear and why they want to move forward with these types of transaction of selling their houses. But one of the way or the others, you're going to come across these three types of decisions sellers make. And if you understand where they are in the process, it makes this process a lot easier.
So what he means by that too is when you're dealing with emotion, they're emotionally making that decision. So make sure you put emotions with your offers. With logic, most logic comes from price. So explain why you're at a price and they'll accept it. And then fear, you have to strike fear in the seller. Okay. So you got to tell them, hey, this offer is good for the next 4 or 5 hours. If not, I'm going to buy another house. Then they'll create the fear from them. Number 5, know when to walk away from the deal, guys. Sometimes the deal's just not good. You're going to have to walk away, okay? I want everybody to understand this. If it's not a deal, just walk away. I see so many people try to force a deal through. Forcing a deal through will not become and make you successful. You just know how to walk away, because sometimes when you walk away, you're actually going to follow up with that seller and get the deal closed, right? You have to have the seller chase you. And if they're just being too difficult, walk away. And if they come back, they come back. If they don't, they don't. Some sellers need years trying to sell the deal before they give up. It's just how humans work.
And keep in mind, guys, when you walk away or someone says no to your deal, sometimes they actually do you a favor. So you're not going to win on every deal. Actually, you're going to lose on more you win. That's how wholesaling works. So when someone says no to you, they actually do you a favor and let you move on. Worst case scenario is you follow up with them when time and circumstance change.
Exactly. So guys, that is how you deal with difficult sellers. There is a lot of difficult sellers out here in wholesaling real estate, but if you know how to overcome them, that's when you make the really, really big checks, because most wholesalers don't even want to deal with these people. They write them off. They don't want to deal with them at all. But if you're able to overcome these, that is where the big checks are in wholesaling real estate, guys. If you got any value from this video, do me a favor. Make sure you go to freewholesaling.com. That's our free real estate wholesaling course. Hit that like button, smash that subscribe button, and we'll see you guys soon. This is Zach Ginn signing out.
Rick Ginn signing out.
Have a blessed one.
See you guys.